I'm Kate.
I'm Elle.
We are down to Faye, and we're continuing our tandem read this week with Empire of Storms, chapters 29 through 30, and Tower of Dawn, chapters 25 through 30. We also want to talk about the interview that SJM did with Jenna Bush Hager. It's not new. It was in January 2024, so it's when she was originally recorded when she was doing promotion for House of Flame and Shadow, but it was just released. The whole interview was just released on Jenna's podcast. So I listened to it, so y'all don't have to. A lot of the conversation is about Sarah's beginnings as a writer, like how she was inspired by Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a badass who was still feminine, and other inspirations like Fantasia. And specifically that scene when Cinderella is running out of the ballroom, she thought to herself, like, what if she were an assassin?
That's so random.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that was for Throne of Glass. And then on the personal side, she talked about how supportive her husband is, writing her first spicy scenes and how it was embarrassing for her, and how much she put of her own journey into Nesta's storyline. Like her own struggles are in Nesta's story, which I thought was interesting. I know I'd heard that before, but it must suck how many people hate Nesta when you're like, I put myself the most into this character, and the fandom's like, perfect, we hate her.
Great.
And also keep in mind, again, this is January 2024, but like looking ahead at that point, Sarah confirmed that she was working on the next ACOTAR and that she already had the following 4 books mapped out.
Nice.
She hinted that after this new ACOTAR, the next project would be set in a world that she's really excited about. And it did not, to me, sound like that would be ACOTAR Crescent City.
Okay.
She did say that there's another Crescent City on the distant horizon.
Don't say distant.
Well, her editor doesn't even know, so I think it's pretty distant.
Uh-oh.
She didn't say House of Many Waters. It has to be, right?
I would hope so.
She said in past interviews that Bryce and Hunt's journey is over, as not over, but like as main characters. Like I'm sure it'll be like how Feyre and Rhys were in in House of Flame and Shadow, but not really. Or they were like in Silver Flames, but they weren't the focus.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to imagine the next one is going to focus on Therion and Ethan.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who else it would be about.
I mean, she did a lot of building them up right at the end there. Well, even if include Rune.
Yeah, Rune too, but also
the boys.
She gave Therion a whole ass wife.
Whole ass wife.
So we're going to have to learn about that.
Especially one that ran after another man. Where's this going?
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, she went to go save her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, so that is just the general overview of the interview. If you want to hear the whole thing, it's on the Open Book with Jenna podcast, which Jenna Bush Hager? I can't remember which one it is. Jenna Bush Hager. She was in Nashville this past weekend because there was a book convention or like festival or fair or something. And they reached out and they were like, yeah, Jenna can do a video that you guys can post. And we're like, oh my God, that's amazing. But we didn't actually get tickets, which is fine. Like we're nobodies. Why would they give us free tickets? But when we looked, a single ticket, $300. VIP, $600. Yes. Single tickets. And I mean, like, I'm sure it was very well done and there were a lot of events. There weren't a ton of authors. Like there were, I don't know, 8.
We just don't know enough about it. We weren't told very far ahead of time to even begin to consider
they didn't
going
have
or looking
Afterpay.
into it. Several concerns.
Well, then also the last thing I'll ramble about, there is some book talk drama.
Uh-oh.
And you've probably seen this guy on your feed. His name is Luke Bateman. And it started out super cute. He's this Australian guy and he reviews fantasy books and he's like sitting on a tractor. You know what I'm talking about?
No, but it sounds great.
Well, he was actually on The Bachelor Australia.
Oh.
And then he was a rugby player. So he is like perfect for me. And he went viral because he reads the romantasy books. And it's such like, I love that men are getting into the genre, but they can do bare minimum and go viral just because they're such a novelty. Like if you get a man involved in a video, the views skyrocket.
So true.
And we're out here like
we're so
struggling every day. But so it's been a couple months maybe that he's been on Book Talk. He's already been offered a 2-book publishing deal. And Book Talk turned on him, like just like that, because this man has no prior writing experience, no manuscript. Like he didn't send off something and it got accepted and now it's being turned into a book. Like he was just handed a deal when there are people who've been working for years and fighting for a publishing deal, like, to even be considered.
I mean, is he saying, like, quippy and really interesting things that are, like, getting people's attention, or is he just a hot guy in a tractor with a book?
He's a hot guy on a tractor reading
Why
ACOTAR.
do you see that and you're like, "That guy could write?"
I mean, I understand, like, publishing is a business, and I'm sure, like, celebrities who can't fucking write release books all the time.
True.
So, I'm guessing that they're just trying to cash in on it, and I don't care either way, I just fucking love drama. I've just been watching it because there's, like Book Talk is split on it, really, and then he had to come out and kind of issue an apology, and everyone's like I don't know. I just think I've been enjoying the drama
Well, I
from
mean,
afar.
romantasy writers have been fighting really hard to be recognized, and they're working
Yes.
their asses off
Mhm.
for a man to just be handed this and, like, suddenly have he
A
didn't
white, attractive ma like, he
he didn't
has
do anything to
white,
earn it.
man, and pretty privilege. Like, he has
Yeah.
a lot of privilege,
Like,
and
you
he seems
can
really nice, but I just think he came into this predominantly female space, like, either he genuinely enjoyed smut or he pretended to like smut, there's no way to know, and he was just rewarded for being an attractive white man.
right, well, and that's not necessarily his fault. It's not like he was out there, like, lying to everybody watching Book Talk. I don't know, I'm guessing. But, it's not again, not necessarily his fault, but no, that's just not how it
Yeah,
works. Like, we're out here trying to promote people that are working their hardest, and we love them for it, and we
right.
support them. Yeah, I mean,
Well, there are
he
books,
hasn't done
like,
anything.
really, really good books that struggled to get shelf space, and then you're just gonna give it to this guy.
Yeah,
I think that's the problem.
we don't even know like, he wouldn't even be
What
the
is
one
this
doing
book
a lot of
even
the
gonna be
writing.
about? Yeah, can he even write? Is it gonna be a ghostwriter and they're just gonna release it under his name?
I
Like,
mean,
there's
does he
no
even
way
have
to
good
know.
ideas? Does he just know the few tropes he's
I've
read?
never even seen his thighs because he's always sitting down. You're a rugby player and you haven't shown me your thighs or your writing?
I can
Mm,
understand the drama, like, no,
but I love drama. I love all drama,
you do. Kate keeps up with all
especially
of it for us.
especially niche drama. Like, if
Well
I see something and it's in a space that I have nothing to do with, I'll just become obsessed with it.
well, the fact that there can be a whole, like, side convo about something, you're like, "Wow,
I'm like,
okay."
I need to know all sides.
Like, even just the drama with some of, like, the cosplayers, you're like,
Ooh, I
"Oh."
loved that,
Like,
and that festival. I would love to go and be involved in the drama.
if I didn't have to pay for it and I could be on the sidelines, different. I'd
No, that true, yeah,
it'd
yeah.
be much more exciting for that.
I think that's all I have as far as yapping.
Yeah, there's always fun things to yap about
Oh,
that you
and
can
then we're
find on Book
doing
Talk.
a Black Dagger Brotherhood episode again.
Ooh, yes. Again, but this one's gonna be like a full standalone episode. We're gonna deep dive it a bit because
The
that
show is
show's coming
coming
out.
out, Passion Flicks.
Well,
It's
we're
so hard to say that with a straight
I
face.
know, we're gonna watch it. Gotta figure out where to watch Passion Flix, but we're gonna keep up with it for
Yeah,
you
is that
guys.
an app? We'll figure it out.
It'll probably be a webpage. We'll figure it out. Well, quick warning before we get into it. Our deep dive is Throne of Glass spoiler free, but we do occasionally tie shit to ACOTAR and Crescent City. We pick up in Empire of Storms chapter 29 with Adian and Lysandra role playing Richard Gere and Julia Roberts in a Skulls Bay alley.
Lysandra is wearing the form of an auburn haired, green eyed young woman that reminds Adian of the lovely mountain maidens of North Terrasen.
She's also wearing the amulet of Orinth, aka the word key, which they're hoping the pirate lord Rolf will see on his magical tattoo, confirming that the map inked on his hands can sense word keys, and hopefully the lock Brandon told Aelin she needs to go find in the stone marshes.
Adian's uncomfortable with the situation for a couple of reasons. One, he's noticed how much shifting takes out of Lysandra. Like, there's a cost that's steeper the bigger the shift. Like, keep that in mind for later events. And then, two, both Adian and Lysandra carry the scars of non consensual sexual encounters, which is why I'm a little surprised that Rowan and Aelin came up with this. Or I think it was actually Rowan's idea, but Aelin co signed. I also don't think that Adie and Lysandra even know that the amulet is the word key.
I think that they probably signed off on this because if it was Aelin, it would be too obvious or more
Mhm.
suspicious.
But at least tell them that they have the word key on them.
I mean, shouldn't they both be able to smell it?
The offness, the
Yeah, something
otherworldliness.
being off
That's
about
a
it,
good point, but they don't, I don't
or
think.
it's just not, like, really
It just
mentioned.
there's something weird about sending them into an already uncomfortable situation without context. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
and what Lysandra has to pose as after the life that she's lived or been
Exactly.
had forced on her, it's kind of
It's like
tasteless.
it's icky.
I know, and I understand that they didn't have a whole lot of options when it came to women to choose from. Maybe there could have
Send
been a
Gavriel and Fenris out there as Richard Gere and Julia
I
Roberts.
mean, like, does it even have to be that? Like, maybe they could be, like, dealing drugs. I don't know, it could be anything else in a back alley. It doesn't have to be I guess this was just
Right.
the simplest option. It also doesn't help that Rowan sent Dorian to check on them.
We talked about this last week, and we love Dorian. He is baby girl, but Adian's history with Dorian is complicated. Adian's family and kingdom were destroyed by the king. Then Adian had to play the Wolf of the North for a decade. He rose through the ranks so that he could get the Sword of Orinth, and he had to be in a position to help his people. Like, Adian was wearing a mask, and he didn't realize that Dorian was also wearing a mask. And so they never really this is like the first time they're actually meeting each other. But Aiden had to push down all of that hate and anger on a daily basis. Like, he was literally staging battles to help the rebels. And then he sees Dorian as this spoiled party boy. He's like enjoying riches from kingdoms that his daddy conquered. He doesn't seem to care what his father's doing because Adian, again, he doesn't know that Dorian is also wearing a mask. So it's like they have to get to know each other because then it was like Dorian was collared, Adian was imprisoned. Adian tried to bring Dorian back. Remember, he kept saying Sorsha, but he couldn't get through. So the Dorian that Adian knows went from a carefree party boy to a literal demon planning his birthday party around Adian's execution. And then he stabbed Aelin on the glass bridge. Like, I understand Adian being hesitant to fully embrace Dorian.
I do understand, but at the same time, Aiden has moments where he thinks back on how he tasted all that Rifthold had to offer. Like, you also chose some opportunities to party, get wasted, sleep around.
Yeah.
Some things may have been forced on you and some things weren't. So some of this, whether you're wearing a mask or not, you're being young boys.
Mhm.
And
No,
Dorian
that's
had
true.
had everything just like handed to him to an extent. So like he's sampling what's around him and nobody's telling him no. It's some of it's just being young and like
Yeah.
arrogant and like the things that aside from the stabbing that I can understand he's upset about, which wasn't Dorian's fault. I don't really understand why Adian's so bitter about him just partying. He was never like, okay, he didn't get women's names. That's shitty. He was a fuck boy, but
He was a fuckboy.
he wasn't being cruel as like as Dorian, you
I
know?
think that he just it's hard not to see him as an extension of his father
I think yeah, all of it for Adian since there's no reason he
because
wouldn't resent
Dorian's
everything.
lifestyle was being funded by money that his father was taking from other kingdoms, and you would be like, "That would bother me."
That's true. From that, yeah, I hadn't thought about that when I was saying that just then, but you're right. He's out there partying on somebody else's like blood money.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly, like, everything in Otterlin was like blood money.
yeah.
And Adian was just I mean, he's like when you're that age, you already have so much rage, and he's like emo. And then you add in that your entire family and kingdom and everyone, because he thought Aelin was dead, like, he thought everyone was dead, and he was just doing his best, so, like, he went into the situation already in a bad headspace.
Even if Dorian is wearing a mask, like he can't fully be honest because he feels like he doesn't have options from an outside perspective. He does look like a selfish party boy. And Aelin also wore that mask and Adian's worn that mask. So
Oh, yeah, they've all worn masks.
it's I can understand why it's difficult and you have to take a minute to remind yourself like what the truth is versus what you think you know.
Mhm.
Also, we've grown up a lot since then. A lot has happened in a short period of time. They also get to Skulls Bay and find that Dorian is living Adian's dream, spending time with Prince Rowan.
He's like, "Oh, you guys are best friends now? That's fucking great."
You have
Like,
inside jokes? Great.
I would love to be on the inside of an inside joke one day.
Oh.
Lysandra chides Adian for being snippy with Dorian, and she compares their situation to her and Aelin. And like, it's great how mature Aelin and Lysandra are in recognizing that it was their environment that pitted them against each other. But I do still understand Adian needing more time. Like, it wasn't just a rivalry like it was with Aelin and Lysandra. I think it went a lot deeper.
It does, especially if you take into account that, like, his family and his countrymen were butchered
Hmm.
by
And then he
Dorian's
was
family.
14 years old in that war.
Yeah, it's not okay, but it definitely goes much deeper than just, like, petty teenage girls. As Aideen and Lysandra get more and more heated, they get more and more heated.
Mm.
When the anger burning in Aideen's eyes turns to something else, Lysandra panics and starts backing away.
And to Adian's credit, he immediately pulls the emergency brake, and the bar is in hell that we have to praise that and, like, that he recognized her reaction. All men should be capable of doing that, but he does immediately stop. Like, I the best way for me to describe it is I would feel safe leaving my drink unattended with Adian.
Oh,
But it's not just Adian being a good man or a male or whatever. A lot of his sensitivity, like we've said, it comes from his own experience and trauma.
yeah, and again, my first thought is, like, he's looking at her lips, he's looking at her chest, and she's not herself, so he some of it I'm sure is doing it like, unconsciously.
Well, she's wearing the form of, like, you know how
He said it's
teenage boys will
exactly
have
like
posters of models on their
yeah,
it's like that, like, that's who she's dressed as right now.
but it also reminds him of home because 'cause she'd be perfect in terrace and
Mhm.
like or that form wood, it's getting his attention. So, like, initially, like, he's not looking at you, Lysandra, but at the same time, you 2 are getting heated, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
still you in there, so
But
I
he at
do
least recognizes, like, "Okay,
yeah.
she's
I
panicking."
can understand why at first he may have gotten distracted, and then he had a moment of like, "Whoa, whoops, hold on. I didn't mean to do that." Well, changing subjects, Lysandra asks if Adian wants to meet Gabriel, who has so far respected his boundaries, but they're not only on the same island, they're wearing the same jerseys. Gabriel and Fenris have agreed to help Aelin in the fight against Erewhon as long as it leads them to Lorcan, who Maeve sent them to kill.
Adian grew up idolizing the cadre, including his father, the Lion of Doranel, and he's scared what someone like that will think about someone that most people call Otterland's whore, which is so
Oh,
sad.
Adian, he's so hard on himself. Adian asks what Lysandra would do, but she and Kate don't have much experience with fathers.
Why would you say that?
Why would you make me say that? Lysandra's either abandoned her mother or hadn't known that she was pregnant.
Lysandra asks what Adian wants to do for him, not for Terrasen, not for Aelin or the cause, but what does Adian want to do, which is a luxury that he hasn't had in life. He hasn't been able to make choices based on what he wants. He wanted the blood oath. Look how that went. But he had also been trained to take the blood oath. So did he really want it? Then he had to play the part of Wolf of the North. Now he's supporting Aelin. And the way Adian sees Lysandra in a way that not many people can, like because of their shared trauma, Lysandra knows what it's like to not have choices. These two characters have a lot in common.
Can we just praise them for being so young and so self aware?
I love a praise kink.
Like, I mean, people don't always know what their
Mhm.
emotions mean, especially when it's the
Oh, they're
emotions of
so
others.
mature.
Like, if I can't even process my own emotions and I'm understanding your movements and your like mannerisms, like
Mhm.
that is really impressive to pick up on what this means to each of them. Like they really see each
They
other.
had to grow up so fast.
Yeah. Adian asks if Lysandra will go with him to meet Gabrielle tomorrow morning, but they're interrupted by Rolf's barmaid who says she made a wrong turn.
In a dead-end alley. You're like,
Also in a town you live in.
right. And they wait to see if she returns, but when she doesn't, they walk back to the Ocean Rose. But who gives a shit? Because it is time to live, laugh, Lorcan. I live for Lorcan chapters. I think that I've kind of like psychoanalyzed why I like Lorcan so much. I'll talk about later, but he is seriously like top 5, not just like this series or SJM, but all time.
He's definitely like the grumpy MMC
Oh,
that
I
you're like,
love a grumpy sunshine of
okay.
like hates everyone and everything except for his woman. Not that she's his woman, but
But she gets under his skin. Alita and Lorcan have been on the road, the very muddy
this whole
road.
thing sounds so gross.
It's just like, I want to bathe. With the traveling carnival for 2 weeks, the troop includes their leader Molly, her niece and moneykeeper Umbriel, and security guard Nick.
So far, Elite and Lorcan haven't had to worry about the sleeping situation because it's been so muddy they can't put down tents. So the women are taking the caravan and the men are drawing sticks for whatever room is left. Like, first of all, caravan is ripe. You
Ugh.
know it smells bad in there, but also Lorcan has to just suck it up every time they give him the short stick, even though he knows they're rigging it, and he could literally just kill everyone.
Everything has to be ripe. Like, if they're not putting down any kind of bedrolls,
Oh my god, everyone is damp.
they're not putting down tents to bathe. Like, yeah, and everything is damp. Think about wet tennis shoes and how they like it
Oof.
just
Now you're
yikes.
picturing them in sneakers. Do you think they have New Balance? I
No,
mean,
they
they're
have
in
wet
boots,
leather
but they're
instead.
still gonna be really gross.
Blech. The few conversations that they've had have been a lead detailing Morath from the area down to the sublevels and dungeons.
Elite has some unprocessed trauma from her time in the dungeons where she was kept by her uncle, Vernon, or Vernon, who wanted to breed her with the Vogue. So she kind of shuts down when he starts asking about it. But Lorcan pushes her for information, which is their deal. Like he's going to protect her in exchange for information about Morath. So she tells him the dungeons were taken out in the blast.
Which Alid previously told Lorcan that she was in the courtyard during.
So he gets in her face, a face born in a different age, a different world. I thought that was very interesting
Mhm.
choice of words.
Yeah, what is that? What are you saying he looks like? What does that
Well,
mean?
I'm assuming she means just otherworldly, like because they say that a lot, the otherworldly beautiful, but it's just interesting. I don't know. I would like to resubmit my theory that Hellas is Lorcan's father
Oh,
and or Maeve is his mother.
ew.
Yeah. Ew.
That changes things.
And there's a theory that Lorcan visited Valaris actually.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know if that would make him a world walker or he went with someone world walking that we can't talk about yet, but there's and the theory is one of those like,
Can we talk about the theory yet? Because I don't know if I know that one.
well, we haven't gotten to the quote that makes people think that.
Okay.
But it's like the theory where people say that Kaltain is the cereal just because they both like cloaks. I mean, it's like that. It's a stretch, but it's fun.
Well, why not? As Alita is telling Lorcan to back the fuck up, the word key she has hidden in her pocket is like, yeah, back up.
Lorcan's so confused. Elite is obviously human, but he can sense the word key, which, you know, that brings up the like your earlier point about Aiden and Lysandra not being able to feel it. It seems like they should be able to
Well, can they feel it, but they just don't? I mean,
write
like,
it off.
if Lorcan can smell a Vogue ring and think that it smells like, I mean, the word key,
Well,
obviously.
Aiden smelled the ring. He knew that ring that the king gave him was weird and threw it in the ocean and wore a fake.
Yeah. And then Lysandra, as a shifter, definitely, or a shapeshifter, definitely has the senses to tell
Mm-hmm.
something's off.
Hmm.
Can they feel it and they just aren't questioning?
I don't know.
Maybe they're just like beginning to understand
But
without
Lorcan
saying.
can definitely feel, and he's starting to put it together that it's not Elide.
Something, yeah, to have something suddenly put so much emphasis and she smells like a human. He's like, "Well,
Mhm.
what is that?"
Well, he's also wondering why this girl is so focused on getting to Aelin.
Mhm. Yep. He does finally tell Alid some of that truth.
He doesn't tell her all the truth. He just basically says, like, when you find Aelin, you'll find Selena Sardathian, which is true. But that's who Kaltain told Elide to give the word key to was Selena Sardathian because Kaltain also never knew who Selena was. It's also crazy to think about.
I know,
That
they're so far back.
yeah, that Kaltain never knew that Selena was Aelin.
Oh.
And she still wanted to get the word key to her.
Yeah. Alid wonders if Aelin will even remember her, if she'll look at her with warmth.
This poor girl hasn't been looked at with genuine affection since her parents were killed. Like, she can't remember the last time she was held, and Manon came for her in the dungeons, but she also left her in Oakwald.
Mhm.
And Manon, to begin with, isn't the warmest character. It's not like she received an invite to join the 13, and no one ever came for her when she was locked in the tower. Not that they knew she was there, but you know, it's like there's just like a lot of emotional baggage of being left behind
Or
and
forgotten.
unwanted.
Yeah. Sensing the shift in her mood, Lorcan's like, "You will tell me what you know once you are better." But only because he doesn't want her to totally crash out because he needs her, no other reason.
Since when does Lorcan give a shit about destroying people's hope? He's like, I don't want to. He's like, I don't want to completely destroy your hope. And it's like when Rowan and Aelin in the beginning of Heir of Fire, he's like, I don't care. Do everyone a favor and die. But then he slowly starts to care about her mood and he wants to see her smile.
Wanting to give her hope.
Lorcan actually has a lot of the same baggage as Elide. Like, no one looks at Lorcan with affection. No one is holding Lorcan. He's not holding anyone. I guess it would be the other way around. But it's just pushed so far down in his subconscious. I don't think that he's recognizing that he's seeing a lot of himself in her, but he is.
Well, also, just when he reflects back on his time with Rowan and he's like, "Man, that brotherhood, that bond we had." I'm like, "But
I
that's not as
know.
deep
It's
as you
actually
think it is."
very sad.
Yeah. When they return to camp, they find their tent. Marion slips into character, just a wife excited for a night with her
And
husband.
Lorcan is internally screaming, like, that tent seems really small, right? Is that a tent for ants?
He follows her in and seeing the one bedroll, volunteers to sleep outside, then goes to get water for a bath.
Which again, he's like, I just have to gain her trust. through baths and clean clothes and taking care of her. It's nothing else, nothing deeper.
Not because I wanna care
Not
for
because
her.
I care.
He says he'll drop her clothes off with Umbriel to be cleaned.
But why should I be the only one naked? Or as we say in the South, naked.
Naked.
Why am I the only one that, that should be naked?
"You are very young," he says carefully, "and I am very old." First
That
of
is
all,
so, that is so sexy.
number 1, did I say anything sexual here? Like, what does that got to do with
What
anything?
yeah, what about your body is different
Since you're
because
very old, can't you control yourself? But also, like, how old? Old. But
old.
like, a body is a body.
Words that she regrets later when instead of dropping off her clothes to be cleaned, he washes her clothes,
Ugh.
including her crusty, on the road for 2 weeks, no baths, panties.
Strapped into leather pants that don't
Oh,
breathe panties, like, all of them, like, "Ugh."
and he's walking away from the tent with the panties that are probably so stiff you could crack them in half,
Ew.
and he hears a lead slip something under the mattress.
Number 1, that could be a million things. The fact that he just, like, draws these
But he knows
conclusions.
exactly what she has. Like, she doesn't have anything. She has the clothes on her back, so he's like, "What would she be hiding?" You know?
Yeah. I mean, she could literally be fluffing the mattress. I don't know. The fact that he just immediately, like, knows it's something, I'm like, "Wow, okay." He also hears her moan with surprising depth when she steps into the warm
He'd
water.
hear my naked part that I've been holding in.
Ugh, freedom.
There's nothing like a naked fart or like a naked shit. Like, if you get home, you can
Ugh.
just I love to just take all my clothes off and take a shit.
That's some next level comfort right there.
Well, it's just like, there's no better feeling in the world, but you can't do that on the road.
Oh, no. I guess
When has she been we're not even gonna talk about that.
that's just a whole 'nother, like, ew, ew. Lorcan's thoughts drift to Rowan and his bitch queen who ruined the most effective killing and fucking team by turning Buzzard into a simp. Like, wow. Deep Lorcan.
But he also is like, "I would never," but as he's saying that, he's hand washing Elite's crusty Calvins and then getting her dinner, but he's like, "I would never be a simp."
I know, but like, yeah, everything he's thinking back with Rowan, I'm sure it was fun for a minute, but like, doesn't that leave you hollow and empty inside?
Mhm.
Like, it's not enough, Lorcan. When he returns to the tent, a lead wrapped in a blanket reveals her uncle locked her in the dungeon because he wanted to see if his bloodline could be crossed with the Vogue. He's also behind the ankle and the chain.
Hearing that, Lorcan's dark power surges and he asks, "Who would you like me to kill for you?" No charge, on the house. We went right from "Who did this to you?" to "Let me kill them for you" in record time, like same book.
Not a simp at all.
So
Elite
yeah, not me.
Nothing weird with that. A lead won't say who blew up the dungeons, just that she's very sure they're no longer there, and neither are the monsters that were being bred down there.
The witches and their very ugly babies were killed, but the Ilkin came from the mountains around Morath through much darker methods that Lorcan thinks Maeve needs to be aware of because he's like, she would never ally with such evil.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure. Sure,
He's also
Dan.
concerned about, for this guy, this grumpy guy who doesn't give a shit about anyone, he's concerned about Doranel, like how long before it's in danger, especially without Rowan and Lorcan, because he assumes that he's going to be dead the second that he destroys the keys and Maeve punishes him.
Did this bother you a little bit? Because it bothered me.
That he was worried about Doranel.
Well, he only seemed to worry about Dornell. I'm like, what about the humans in Winland? What about those in Mistward that aren't as strong as those in Dornell or as well protected?
I honestly didn't think of it because I was like, wow, he's worried about Doranel. But that's a very good point.
Well, I mean, I'm sure in his heart Dornell is home, so the first thing you think of is home. But
Yeah.
I just had a moment where I was like,
The world.
what about those that are weaker than you?
No, that's a good point.
Either way, it's gonna be bad, which means that Lorcan is trying to save Maeve from herself, knowing that it's going to end in his death as well.
It's funny to me that everyone, including Lorcan himself, thinks that he is so loyal to Maeve.
Well, he's doing this for her, right?
Well, like, look at his actions. He went to Mistward, which we will learn later just how much that pissed Maeve off. I think it's Fenris that says it. He stole Athral's ring. He's planning to take and destroy the word keys, knowing that she wants them. He helped her enemies in Rifthold, like he helped save Adian and Rowan. And then, like, is Lorcan super loyal or does he subconsciously hate Maeve? Because he stays pissing her off. Like, I can't tell if he is doing all this and he's delusional and thinks that he is actually loyal or if somewhere he knows that he fucking hates her.
He literally says that his reasoning is to save her from herself. So, like, she's not a good person,
Well, with him, I think
period.
that it's a trauma bond, like, on his end. He has a tragic backstory, Demi Faye aren't treated well in Doranel, so Maeve is probably the only person, or at least the first person who ever gave Lorcan any sort of attention and made him feel like someone. Like, she gave him purpose, which is so sad because he's obviously being manipulated.
I'm sure she groomed him a lot too. Based on his
Yes!
station and for being Demi-Fae, he's very elevated. He's very
Mhm.
important.
Yeah, exactly, and I love Lorcan. He is the archetype of a centuries-old, "I can fix him" MMC. Like, the dark, broody, but he's also, like he has his little sweet moments as long as it's for a lead. He's funny, like, he's unintentionally funny.
Hilarious,
Yeah, well,
actually.
like, he's unintentionally hilarious, and then he's a gentleman, like, he hasn't tried anything with a lead. He talks about being this monster, but he's offering to sleep outside and getting her bath water, like, I
Gave
just
her strips of his shirt.
exactly, we haven't even gotten
He
there, like, he's even
rescued
more
her.
of a gentleman, it's just and Lorcan fucks. Like, he would be the kind of character that is destroying you, and, like, you're hitting your head against the headboard, but then he puts his hand between your head and the headboard, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. What a
Like,
gentleman.
I don't know if I've thought about this too much. That seems a little too specific. It's also very sad that the way Rowan talks about it is, like, how much of a loner, kind of like a loser asshole Lorcan is, like, he's irredeemable, but then when you look at Lorcan's inner dialogue or his inner monologue, he's like, "I miss my best friend," and Rowan fucking hates him. Like,
This
Rowan thinks that he's so much better, but he was right there beside Lorcan, like, destroying cities. You know what I'm saying?
this makes me think about we mentioned this, I think it was last week with Lorcan basically gaslighting himself because he's stuck with Maeve.
Mhm.
Because I think that Lorcan intentionally is not being honest with himself because otherwise it's sad and depressing because he's trapped.
Right.
Like Rowan, I don't know if he always felt this way, but now it's easy that he's not tied to Maeve to be like, no. This is all Lorcan has to offer.
Mhm.
And Lorcan's like, oh, my best friend, because if he admits to himself that they would just like partied together, that's all he has. And then he's got Maeve.
Yeah.
Poor Lorcan. It's just
I
like
know!
not being fully honest with himself.
Honestly, the cadre didn't deserve Lorcan. Rowan doesn't deserve Lorcan as his best
No.
friend. It's just
Whoa.
so sad that he's thinking about this guy as his best friend, and Rowan's thinking about how much he wants him to die.
But he also is, like, thinking about, "Well, he was a killing machine. Neat.
Neat.
Thanks."
Well, I do feel like Lorcan is what SJM was going for with Reese. Like, in the beginning,
Mhm.
he hates everyone and everything, but if he cares about you, he really cares about you.
Yeah, I think she did more with Reese than she's
Well,
shown us
Reese
with
kinda
Lorcan
became
yet.
like he's like a Rowan Lorcan hybrid, like, he kinda became a simp and became this, like, uber feminist, but he turned so far that he found himself in the wrong direction. Does that make sense? Like, when you go so far past the point that you're actually on the opposite side?
Yeah.
That's where Reese ended up for me.
Yeah, he kinda took a turn.
But he started out like, when we first met him, he was just like a dark and broody
He's out there being a martyr for his
anti-hero.
people
Yeah,
and, like, playing the part, like, really,
but he
really
fucks
well.
too.
Oh, he
He
does.
fucks.
Switching over to Tower of Dawn, chapter 25, Kale and Irene are searching the Torre library after Irene found books about the Vogue and scrolls with word marks there.
And that very old, very important scroll is now hidden in Kale's boot.
Perfect spot. Luckily, the Torres library is located in the lower levels with ramps so the librarians can use rolling carts to transport books.
There are a few stairs where Irene has to grit her teeth to haul him up. Like, first of all, if you're gonna make a sound when you pick me up, put me down. Have you like don't even pick me up. There is nothing worse than someone trying to pick you up and grunting.
Yeah.
But also, this is the first time that Irene has moved or even touched Kale's chair.
I mean, I think maybe I don't understand why they both or Kale feels like it's significant because I know Irene doesn't step in to help him, but like, can you push your own chair over a step?
I
Like,
think that it's because he's realizing at this point how much she's been letting him.
handle on his own?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's more like not recognizing that she's doing it in this moment, but recognizing that she hasn't been doing it.
Yeah, now that she's suddenly there, he's like, "Oh, I didn't expect
Let
that
me
from
tell you,
you."
I got my IKEA bookshelf.
Oh, you tell me.
I tried to get it inside by myself, and it was so fucking heavy, and I have a dolly, like one of those moving dolly things.
Wow, you
I
own one?
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, we
impressed.
might have stolen it. I don't know where it came from, but I could not get it up the stairs.
That's fair.
I wanted to, like, for my boyfriend to come home and be like, "Oh my god, she did it all by herself." That's so sad. I sound like I'm 12, but I ended up just having to, like, sit outside until he got home.
Did they not put it on your porch?
No, I didn't pay for the extra, the, like, white glove service. I was like, I got it."
Well, even if they're not putting it together, I'm surprised they left it down on
Well,
the
I have,
sidewalk.
like, 3 stairs at my porch. They didn't do it by the front door. I
These
know.
people, come on.
I broke a nail.
I know. It looks like it's fixed, though.
Yeah, I got it fixed.
I'm so happy for you. Not only are Kale's feet from the ankle down regaining feeling and movement, but they have to stop for pics and autographs with the Lord Westfall fan club. So Kale is in a great mood.
He has no idea that if he looked up right now, he'd see Nezrin on her way to that adventure that he promised her with Sartak.
Ooh. Nusha shows Irene and Kale where she found the books and scrolls from Eelway.
I love that on the way, they see a bass cat and Irene bows. Because Kale's like, did she just bow to the cats? Have you ever seen those deer in Japan that bow?
Yes.
Apparently, if you don't, like, they'll bow once or maybe twice, and then they will ram you until you give them treats.
Oh,
Like, they
okay.
are not waiting.
Like they've been
They're like
trained for this. It doesn't
like
look
that
as
it's a transaction of, like, "I've given you the bow, give me the fucking marshmallow, or they're gonna attack you."
yikes. That's actually kind of
I've seen
terrifying.
several TikToks of kids, like, running from them.
It's funny, but also like, wow, wow, okay. The Tory Library would give the Royal Library of Rifthold a run for its money. It's that large and old, like 1,500 years old.
It actually predates the Coggan, but also 1,500 years is old, but when we're in Crescent City, we're talking 15,000 years.
Yeah.
So, that
Also, what were you using as papyrus that has lasted 15,000 years?
papyrus. Is that the
Papyrus?
fruit?
No, papaya. Papyrus is like
Oh, I
what
know, no,
scrolls
I
we
know.
made.
It's the name of that store where you get, like, stationery.
Oh, yeah, stationery, scrolls, paper, all the things. The library was built as a gift from an ancient queen to the healer who saved her child's life. Even that queen's palace didn't survive the line of conquerors who followed. The Coggan's current palace sits on top of its ruins.
But healers are needed no matter who is in charge, which makes Irene question the king's motivation in killing them, or really the Vogue's motivation in hunting down and killing magic wielders and healers like Irene's mother.
Kael confirms the king was possessed. Knowing the Vogue wanted magic wielders,
It is so hard in this series to keep up with who knows what.
I know, or
Even just
like,
like, I'm like, okay, Adian and Lysandra don't know that the amulet is a word key. I think Kaal does. I'm pretty sure he was around for all that. But then Adian went with them to Arabins to get the amulet back. Did he think that was important just as a symbol?
yeah. Well, is he feeling that it's a word key or something is off or not? Does he even notice that it's
But I can't. I like. It's so hard to like. Who knows that Parrington is Erewhon? Does Nezrin know that Aelin has a word key? I just like. It's really hard for that.
well, Sartak still doesn't even know
Sartak.
about Sartak doesn't even know about the word keys. Like they know about Erewhon, but
Yeah,
Nezrin hasn't even told him any
I
details.
know.
But I think Caution knows. I've already forgotten.
I
Did
can't remember if
know?
Caution does Caution know about the Vogue? I think he does.
Caution does because wait, shit. I know that he knows something is off. You know what?
He
See?
thought that his sister might have not died by her
Suicide.
by suicide, but I don't know if he knew about the Vogue.
We just need to all be on the same page. There's too many unknowns here. Knowing the Vogue wanted magic wielders, the man within him took back control long enough to give the order to execute magic wielders so they couldn't be turned into hosts for the demons, and he had the towers that banished magic built.
I really don't know how to feel about that decision because on the one hand, it was genocide, literal genocide, that he, like the king, not the Vogue inside him, ordered that. On the other hand, what else could he have done? Like, I try to put myself in his position. I don't think I would be able to make that call. Like, even if that were the greater good, I don't think that would be able to make the call to get thousands of people killed.
I mean, like, what if it was millions, but it would save the world
I
for the
don't know. I don't
future?
know if I
Like,
could do it. Like, could he not have exiled the magic wielders? Like, I don't know where they would have gone because obviously Gwendolyn wasn't helping, but it's just like a crazy, like, that he would be in the right in making that decision. It's really
yeah.
hard for me to see that as the greater good.
Gosh, if he really wanted to defeat the Vogue someday, then exiling them would made so much more sense.
Well, you're gonna need them in the fight, but then also you don't want them to be used in a fight against you. I don't know.
Well, then also Dorian would be exposed, but
It was
still.
all about Dorian. See,
That's
again, another reason to resent Dorian.
like, are you a good man, though? I mean, like, nothing wrong with taking care of your kids, but it's millions of people.
We
Like,
actually don't know that before he was possessed, he was even a good guy.
yeah, we don't know enough. Irene is also feeling conflicted.
Well, the king has been the villain in her story for 10 years. Then you learn that it was, in theory, for a greater good, but that greater good included burning your mother. So, like, not ready to let that go yet.
Yeah, and even then, we're still debating if it was the greater good or if there were other options, but it changes perspective a little bit knowing that he
Mhm.
was trying to do something good. It's just that would
Or
be
that it wasn't even the king, that it was the Vogue inside of him. You're like, I don't even know who to be mad at right now.
yeah, you just feel kinda, like, helpless with that feeling. When Irene asks why healers specifically, since they have no power to use in battle, Kale thinks the opposite is true. Healers have something they want very badly, or at least there's something the Vogue want to keep healers from knowing.
Like, just look at what Irene has done inside Chaol, the way that her light fights the darkness. That has some pretty big implications that they're not really thinking about yet. But
But
it
sorry, go ahead.
no, it's just it makes sense. You're like, "Okay." But
Even when Kale said that though, he's like, "What do they have that the Vogue want?" I'm like, "What did the Vogue want, do you think? Do they have something they want
what
or
w
just something they fear?"
yeah, what about what Irene can do? It seems pretty obvious why they would be scared of it.
Yeah, it was the way that Kale phrased it for a moment that I was like, "Are you thinking there's something else that I haven't thought of?"
He
Like,
kinda
"What?"
circles the drain sometimes.
Well, I personally think out loud, so some of my sentences just, like, end
Well, the
for
problem
no reason. I'm
is
like, "Well,
not everyone knows everything. So I'm like, who's coming to these conclusions with not all the information or without
I
context?
know we really should have a group text. Be
We
on the
need it.
same
We
page
need
here,
it. If
you
this were
know?"
Crescent City, we would have a group text.
Let's just nail down some facts real quick. When Irene asks about the word marks, Kale explains that they're an earlier and different sort of power, magic outside of magic.
And he says he has a friend who can read and wield them. A friend. That feels
Oh,
like progress. I wonder if the whole magic outside of magic is the king. Did he banish magic from this world so it didn't affect word marks? Is that like a unique thought to have?
I don't know if I'm following it. I'm sorry.
Because the word marks are not from this world. So when the king banished magic, did that not affect word marks because they aren't from this world?
Correct. It's not the same magic, I guess,
Yeah.
which is interesting also. How do people yep. I don't
You
know
know
what to
what
do
I'm
with that.
saying?
It is something like he did what he could to if he could get rid of everything, I'm sure he would have, but maybe he only had access to affecting even though he used word marks to do it, in word stone, he only had access to changing the magic
Oh,
of their
yeah. I don't know.
world.
I guess he did have access to word marks.
But, like, whatever he was able to do still didn't affect the word marks.
Upon reflection, I did not do anything with that thought.
No, but you did because they are separate somehow, but I
I
just
don't
don't know
know
enough about
why.
it. They take a bag of books and scrolls with them just in case whoever or whatever was in the library returns
What's so funny is they will have these super confidential conversations in public places
that probably echo.
that probably echo, and then Irene will be like, "Anyway, let's go find that book on your chronic toe fungus," but then they'll go right back to talking about what they were talking about, and I'm like, "You guys,
This is not very sneaky.
the cats are hearing everything."
While Kale's journey is taking him down into the depths of the library, Nezrin's has taken her up into the skies. She, Sartak, and Kadara land on top of a mountain in the Asimil mountain range to camp.
Where she has to hang her ass out over a sheer drop to go to the bathroom. And you know the wind is blowing. It's either blowing it into her or worse, towards Sartak.
I'm just having like, ooh, where's that going?
Like, you would have to, am I holding on to something? I would 100% fall because I'm picturing like, when you would play video games, I don't remember if it's Mario, where you're just like it's like land floating in the sky is what I'm picturing, even though it's just a mountain, I can't picture a mountain.
I literally saw a true crime documentary. I can't remember where it was or who it was, but, like, these teenagers not teenagers, like, college kids are all, like, camping on, like, an island, near a beach,
Mhm.
and wherever they have set up their campsite, you have to, like, hold onto a tree and lean over the ledge to go to the
Oh
bathroom.
my god.
I know, because so,
Can you
like
imagine shitting
well, they
into
assume
the wind?
they're assuming, like, one of their drunken nights, because they find somebody floating later and like, "No, he just fell because he was on the edge when he went to the bathroom," like,
Mm,
something
likely.
crazy, but as you say that, I'm like, "What is" I can't tell you what it was, but that just rung a weird bell in my head.
What book did we read where it's the land is, like, floating in the sky, and he we don't oh, the Bargainer series. Once they go to the
Oh, shit, I forgot
other
about that.
side, like, where the Fae what is it? Where the Fae live or something? Beyond the Veil? I'm getting so
Yeah.
many series mixed up right
There's
now.
several series where, like
But he's like, "That land is, like, floating because I have a mental image of it." That was such a good series because it ended up that he was, like, the king of something.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I thought we talked about that one, I think, like, way back when we
We should
started
do
the
a whole
podcast.
episode on it. It
We're gonna have
gets
yeah.
spicy.
We're gonna have to do it again. It is relatively safe, at least though and where they're camping. The only ones who could reach them up there are other rooks and wyverns.
Sartak asked if she's seen wyverns, and I was like, "Has she?" Because again, I cannot fucking remember who has done what. But it's she has seen wyverns because that day that they went to try to save Dorian in Oakwald Forest, the witches were there.
Was
And then they
Nezrin
had
there?
it's it's when they like Dorian was still possessed and they saw the witch mirrors.
Yeah, but was Nezrin there?
Yes, because they went to Nezrin's country home after.
Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
You're right, she has. Okay.
And then they had to save Chaol, remember? Again?
Oh, because it was Chaos' fault? Yep.
Yeah. Didn't
Rooks
even save Dorian.
I mean, what a mess. Rooks are probably 2/3 to half the size of wyverns, if Kadar is the typical size.
Sartak's like, "I thought you knew all about the famous winged prince and his rook." She asks if he likes the title, and he says that it's strange to become a story while you're still alive, like Aelin and Adian. And Nezrin is walking this line of, okay, I can't hype them up too much. Like, I can't be too obvious that I'm trying to win him over to our side as an ally. It's kind of like how we don't trust influencers anymore because they're all getting paid to tell you that they like shit, so you don't trust them. Like, Nezrin can't be like, "Oh, yeah, Aelin is the best. She is so trustworthy and so strong," because obviously you're selling him on Aelin. It's why I don't trust Michaela when she tells me what blush to buy.
It's funny you keep picking on Michaela because I'm like,
Kim Kardashian.
I watch a lot of her makeup videos. I'm watching what she's doing. I don't
But you can't
necessarily
trust her anymore because her wedding was literally paid for by a makeup brand. And
yeah,
you
but
think she's
she
gonna give
uses
them
a
a
bunch of
bad
different brands.
review?
Well, even if she's, like, not even reviewing it, you just watch what she's doing. I'm really just watching it for tips. I don't really care what she's using. She uses something different almost every video,
I
which
kinda
seems
trust Jeffree
exhausting.
Star just because he's mean about
He's
everybody.
a bitch. He's so mean to people. But saying nothing and doing nothing just isn't Nezrin's nature. So, like, even if she wasn't hyping up Aelin, she could explain situations she's seen Aelin in and
And
let
she's
him
being
draw his own
honest.
conclusions.
Like, she loves Aelin. Like, she is a big fan of Aelin, so it would be hard to not talk about your friend.
Yeah, even if she wasn't using, like, descriptive words, even if she's like, "Okay, here's a story. This happened, this happened, this happened. Draw your own
Mhm.
conclusion, what you think of her."
Yeah.
I don't know, not doing anything has never been Nezrin's style. Even when she was a child, her mother called her wind seeker because she was unable to keep still. She was wandering where the wind calls her.
And Nezrin has another nickname, Neith's Arrow, one that she earned after firing that shot that saved Lysandra as she was racing towards the glass castle to help Aelin. Nezrin has been an extra for so long. Like, Nezrin has been in a supporting role in her own life. And one of the things I love about Sartak is he makes her feel seen. Like, he makes her feel like a main character. And a lot of these characters, like, just like we were saying with Lysandra and Adian and with Aelin and Rowan and Lorcan and Alid, they see each other.
I think that's why I love reading these stories, or really most of these fantasy stories, because honestly, having somebody see you for who you are is kind of a
It
fantasy. It's a
is.
lot harder in the real world for
Mhm.
people to, like, get it. So I do love that. I get all excited for them. Nezrin looks up to the stars, different from the ones in the north, stars that her father himself looked up to.
Am I a fucking idiot for not knowing that when you look up into the sky, not everyone sees the same stars?
You're
Did
not an idiot. That doesn't make sense. Like, if the world rotates on its axis, like at this exact moment, if we look at the sky and people in China look at the sky, we'll see something different. But
Yeah,
eventually we'll see the same things. We'll rotate around,
just not
you
this
know?
yeah, just not at the same time.
Yeah, as I was reading that, I was like,
I looked it
uh,
up because I was like, I wonder why Sarah would change the stars. And then I was like, no, I'm just stupid.
I don't know. Yeah, because like otherwise, when you're traveling, why would you always look for the North Star if it's going to change? You
Yeah,
know,
the north of the what is it? The of Terracin?
Lord of the North.
Lord of the North.
Yeah.
I was like, the deer of Terracin? What? Like, that's gotta be everywhere, right? Because they're always looking up and finding it.
To have different stars, I'm like, do you have like sections of night sky? Like, oh, we've
I
switched
don't
over. These are the
confuse.
different
I'm
stars.
so confused.
I don't know. Yep, I don't know with that one. Maybe we sound like idiots and people are
I
like, you
bet we
guys,
do.
somebody explain. After having dinner in the Torre, Kale and Irene sit in companionable silence.
It's similar to what Nezrin was saying about Sartak, that she didn't mind being alone with him, like not needing to fill the silence, just enjoying the other person's company. Like, I have library time every night, and my boyfriend sits in the dark while I read. It's companionable silence.
I mean, but like that's one of those things that goes back to when you really see each other,
Mhm.
you're not having to explain yourself or
You
fill
don't
the
have to
silence.
entertain the other
Yeah,
person.
they see you. They get it. Irene and Cook insist that Kale stay the night at the
He's
Torre.
like, "Oh, I better get a note to Nezrin or she's gonna be so worried."
Because the tower is mostly stairs, Irene takes Kale to the physician's complex where rooms are available to loved ones of sick patients. She offers to find him clothes, but he sleeps without them.
Okay, like, couple of things here. There's a trending song on TikTok that's like, "I ain't got no panties on," so that's what I was
What?
singing on the dance floor. I can't sleep naked. Number 1, I can't sleep naked to begin with, but in a strange place. Like, you're telling me Kale is taking all of his clothes off in this, like, hotel room.
Well, especially if you're vulnerable, he can't exactly just jump out of bed to pull his pants on, get going. Like, it's going to take you a few minutes to like
It's
get dressed if there's a problem.
My
Like, that feels
coworker sleeps
vulnerable.
naked, and I've always thought it was so odd because I am very scared of, like, okay, I don't wanna get attacked naked. I don't wanna have, like, a fire and I have to run out, or, like, the firefighters have to bust in or something. Like, there's too many variables.
I always have my fan going, so like my shoulders get cold.
Yeah.
So like even in a tank top, naked or not, like I would have my covers up to my shoulders, but like
Well, you have the fan pointed at you. I have the fan pointed away.
oh, I have well, yeah, it was a ceiling fan.
Oh, wow. You think you're better than me?
I'm just saying.
I can't do that because it makes my throat hurt.
Also that.
But I
It's
guess
different.
that Sarah put this in though to explain why Kale was shirtless in bed with Nezrin, but that brings up a couple more things.
It doesn't make sense
You're
either.
telling me Kale fell asleep while Nezrin was talking, but had time to slip off his clothes?
And Nezrin is fully
All of
clothed
them?
next to him.
You
Like
took
that's
all of
fine.
your clothes off just to have a conversation with someone,
But also, I'm lying in bed next to you, fully clothed,
and you're
and
naked?
nothing happened. Like that's weird. That would be so weird if that was the
The
case.
whole thing is where we do also get an answer to the bathroom question, or at least how it's being handled here, because she points out the porcelain pot. So it's really just pointing and shooting.
Okay. I don't want to know how you're shitting. Don't tell me. That's a you problem.
Yeah, seriously. Poor, what's her name? Kaja? Can I
Gotcha,
just
yeah.
say also while we're talking about it, it's fucking disgusting that men don't wipe the tip of their dicks.
Don't they just give it a little shake?
That's so gross. Just wipe the tip.
I mean,
Do a dab.
I don't.
I think that should be mandatory.
I don't need to know. You know, these are not my problems. I'm not washing your undershorts. Not my problem.
Undershorts? Okay, Kale.
The next morning, Arisha appears at Kael's door to inform that Irene has a meeting with Hafiza and will meet him at the palace at lunch.
He gathers his books and weapons and rides back to the palace alongside Arisia, a surprisingly good rider, and manages a few nods of acknowledgement to the guards who help him, including Shin.
Oh,
We love Shin.
I mean, he's just making some friends. Before Shin can tug his glove on, Kael sees the metal forearm and hand that he hadn't noticed before.
Shin explains that he lost it a year and a half ago during an attack on Argun's life. You know, I just realized that Argun is Dargun. Like, I guess that's why he's named that?
I don't.
Is
I
that
don't know.
something?
I don't know.
But Shin's arm was actually one of Irene's first big healings. She repaired all that she could. Obviously, she couldn't grow a new limb, like, they don't have vampire venom, and this isn't Forks, Washington. You know why baby vampires are so powerful, by the way? In
Why?
the Twilight world, not in this world, because they still have blood. It'll eventually be replaced by venom.
I forgot that you recently did a Twilight deep dive
I
because
know.
I'm like, "What are you
Well,
talking about?" I haven't
a
read that
couple
in
I don't
so
know if it was
long.
last week or a couple weeks ago. It's Bree Tanner who I was trying to think of. There's, like, a newborn vampire Victoria created, and she gets her own little spin-off novella before she's killed by the Volturi.
Wow.
So that too, we get a lot of lore from Bree Tanner. That was her name.
Wow.
I don't know where that fits into this.
Just updates. Shin admits it's taken him a long time to get to this place, but he didn't do it alone, the unspoken offer showing in his eyes.
Kale's inspired. Shin is no less a man or guard because of his injury. He's just had to find a new way to move through the world. And Kale is still processing this. Like he came from having like a really good day, and then he had that interaction with Shin. So like things are going well. And then he returns to his suite and finds his letter to Nezrin unread and her letter to him beneath it.
Yeah. He spirals back down into guilt and shame over his treatment of Nezrin, not just here in Antica, but in Rifthold too. She might not hold him to any promises, but he holds himself to them.
So he decides the best way to atone for treating a woman like shit is treating a different woman like shit.
Yep.
When she gets there, Irene is totally confused at his 180. He was in a good mood yesterday. Like she was in a good mood too. She was basically skipping on the way to the palace.
I mean, we're having
She's like,
progress.
"What the fuck?"
Ugh, poor thing. I don't need a moody boy. She's
He's not just moody. KO is flat out fucking rude.
Oh yeah,
He
but
is
we
cruel.
we've seen this side of him before. I'm like, you
Mhm.
need to grow the fuck up.
We have seen this side. Like he has this like where he shuts down. I mean, when he tells her to get out, it would be hard for me not to roll him off of a fucking cliff.
Yeah, I would have some words.
Get out? I'm literally healing you.
Yeah. I don't deserve this treatment. None of it's my fault, so fuck off. Irene suggests that he exercise at the guards training facility, but he shuts it down. Like he shuts her down, period.
And as he starts the presidential fitness test, Irene correctly guesses Kale used physical training as a coping mechanism. And so does Nezrin, because when she's in the training ring in the Airy, she thinks about how important working with a bow and physical training was when she was grieving her mother's death. And it's really something we see in all of SJM's books, like Nesta and the Valkyries. Their training was part of their healing journey. And Bryce was a runner.
Yeah.
It's just and, like, knowing Sarah put so much of herself into Nesta, I'm assuming that's something that she does, or that's something that's, like, important to her.
I guess
I'll
it makes you feel like you're making changes, like you're having trouble getting through it emotionally and you're physically doing something to push forward.
something that always took me out of that book, though, was the lactic acid. You're telling me Cassian knows about lactic acid and they don't have C-sections? But it is on brand for Cassian to be a gym bro that, like, comes over and starts telling you about lactic acid, but something about that always just, like, I hate it. I, like, skip over that part.
Yeah, something doesn't quite connect there. Despite Kale's anger literally radiating off of him, Irene plasters on a smile and pushes through ankle and feet exercises. But when she gets to his upper thighs, he completely shuts
And
down.
tells her to get out several times, and he bares his teeth. I don't even know what that looks like because Kale's just a man. He's not a male. Like, what is you doing?
I mean,
You're
honestly,
baring your teeth?
if somebody's just acting at me like that, I don't know how
I
I'd
think I'd start
behave.
laughing. I get, like, an uncomfortable laugh.
But also, like, it's so uncalled for and silly. Like, yeah, I think I'd be like, "What?
It is
What is
silly.
happening right now? Are you having a tantrum?
Are
Are
you
you
okay?
okay?" Jinx. Irene just flashes another smile and leaves.
And she's so confused. Like, they had so much progress. She was just with him last night, and she's asking herself, what could have changed? Like, is it because my coworker is such a bitch?
I mean, like, I can't help it. If you really keep like, I'll give you like one or two being rude moments, but if you keep pushing me, I'm gonna say something really
Oh, I'll say
awful
something we're
back.
both gonna regret.
Yeah. So I'm very proud of Irene that she holds it in for the most part. She does get the answer to the question when she visits Hassar, who tells her that Nezrin rode off into the sunset with Sartak, leaving only a post-it that said, "I'm sorry, I can't. Don't hate me."
Are you watching the new season of And Just Like That?
No.
I hate
Sorry.
it, so anyway, I'm watching it. Aiden's back.
I know. I just feel like there's a lot of character assassination with this
Yeah.
whatever we call this series.
Yeah, it's not great. Anyway, but the messenger told everyone that's so embarrassing. Can we get like this castle, there's so many things that the Coggin has done right. Why are there so many fucking leaks? I mean, I
'Cause
guess that people aren't as scared. Like this is what happens when you don't scare your servants.
well, everybody's paying everybody. They're like, "Hey, it's cool. As long as I get paid, nobody will get mad at me." Like, "Okay."
Needing to blow off some energy and assuming Kale is in no better mood than when she left, Irene follows the sound of coughing into the slums and doesn't leave until sunset, when she's being actively hunted by ancient demons.
I mean, it's not safe, but she's being very productive. Like, her blowing off steam is helping other people.
I
Like,
run from
I
coughing.
know
Well,
I need to learn how to be more like that though. While in
what are
this
you gonna do?
what, help heal people? Like, to or
Are
just
you gonna go into the slums and put your hands on crusty chest?
whoa, bro. Whoa, I don't have magic, but I can do volunteer work. Jeez.
Oh, wow.
My whole point is that I'm self-involved. While in the slums, Irene heals 6 people. That is impressive,
Mhm.
including one girl with signs of abuse.
She heals the injuries. She leaves the upper layer of the skin bruised to cover up the healing, which I wouldn't have thought of, but that was very smart. And she doesn't push the girl to leave her situation. Like, only the girl can make that decision, but she lets her know that the Torre's doors are always open with no questions or fees.
Which is so important because there's
Mhm.
one of the sick patients, like, didn't have the money to get to the Torre, so, like, it might be hard for the girl to get there, but at least if she can, like, they're not gonna ask more of her.
Well, I feel like the Torre should have on the pit, they started as, like, this group in Pittsburgh that would be sent out to areas, and they have something like that still where they go to, like, whatever Pittsburgh their Skid Row would be called, but
Okay.
they send people out, like, with and they have, like, prescriptions for certain people, like, especially mental illness for homeless, and they send them out into the field. I feel like the Torre should do that.
Yeah, that's really dangerous.
Yeah.
It's impressive they do that, but, like, that's wow. Irene is drained, but she won't be able to rest until she resolves the situation with Kale. Like, I would have been simmering for a long time too, girl. I get
No,
it.
I would be back in my room, like, coming up with all of my good comebacks.
Since you caught me so off guard with your little petty tantrum, I'd be like, "You know what? Now I'm real pissed because 'cause I've had more time to think about it."
No, I'd be fucking caution, actually.
Okay, I support that.
I would like, yeah, I would have already been doing that,
Yeah,
honestly.
especially if he's the most beautiful, like, "Hey, it's Prince." Like, I don't know. After some stops for food and coffee, Irene walks back to the palace alone at 11 p.m.
She's debating whether or not this is a good idea. It's not, or if she should just wait until tomorrow, but she's not the same girl that she was in Inish. Like, she doesn't back down from fights,
Yeah,
and
with no
she's
weapons on
with
her.
no weapons. And she's not letting Kale backslide, like, not after all the progress they've made. The inner monologue that she's having is interrupted by footsteps, which wouldn't be so weird because there's always servants out and about in the palace, but there's also a prickling sensation. And then she hears a voice telling her to hurry, her mother's voice.
Yeah, that would change things because honestly, I would be totally in my head thinking through all the things I'm about to tell you and like I can't forget this point and then this point about why you're wrong and then I'm not self-aware enough to notice people around me.
Well,
So, you'd have to be like, "Ellen, get moving."
I would think I was going insane if I heard a voice.
Yeah,
But
that's
how is her mother communicating? Because at first I was like, "Oh, it's Silba." Maybe it's Silba using her mother's voice. Because she
yeah,
talks about how she had felt warmth before, which made me think Silba because
I was
we
thinking
have
Silba since they're like talking about her being like Silba's heir.
yeah,
But maybe she is using Irene's mother's voice to like get her attention.
because there's a lot of these characters have, like, a god or goddess looking over them, like
Mhm.
Lorcan and
Lead.
Elide and then Aelin, obviously. So, I guess. I don't think it would actually be her mother.
Yeah, I don't know. Hard to I mean, the way the spirits are still kind of accessible for some of these characters, it could be, but just the fact that somebody is there to, like, kind of break through and get her attention, it's kind of terrifying.
Girl, pay attention.
Yeah, that's I mean, especially knowing that there are Vogue out hunting people in the city and you're alone, she should have already been paying more
Well, and you
attention.
just drained yourself healing 6 people.
Like exactly. It's kind of crazy. When her mother's voice urges her to run, Irene breaks into a sprint, and so does the person following her. Now, like, I know we can't like turn around and just check out who it is, but it's one of those things that I'm like, just what if we turn around and peek? Just see who's chasing
She's
you.
in flats. I think she just has to focus on not dying.
You're right. She's probably slipping and
Can you
sliding on, like,
imagine
marble
running in
floors.
ballet flats? First of all, the smell.
Okay. What does the smell have to do with the running? Like, okay.
I'm just saying, I'm painting a picture.
There's a lot going on here. Irene runs into Kale's suite, turning the first lock before the person on the other side barrels into the door. She's flipping the second lock when Kale comes out, and seeing the terror on her face, they go into his bedroom and lock it.
I'm glad he at least takes her seriously immediately.
I mean,
But
I think he would regardless, but also having somebody barrel into the door, he's probably like, "Whoop, gotta go."
and the bedroom door has one lock. So Kale asks if Irene can move a chest, and she does, probably thanks to the adrenaline, because later he's like, I've heard about this happening with moms like moving something off of kids because of the adrenaline.
Yeah, poor Kale. How about you
He
feel
feels
super
so
helpless?
helpless, yeah.
Even with your weapon, you're still in a chair, you're at a lower height, and you
Mhm.
can't help literally just moving things in the way to like
Right.
blockade.
But he does later on kind of spiral about that. But in this moment, he really is very like calm and like guiding her through what to do.
Yeah, he handles the situation very well. Even with the chest in front of the door, there are solid glass garden doors. So as Kale lunges for his nightstand daggers, Irene goes for the armoire and wooden screen to the bathroom.
I also have a nightstand dagger. We've talked about that. I'm very scared of being specifically a flashlight being shined into my eyes while I'm asleep by was it the Golden State Killer? Something about or Richard Ramirez. It always
Ugh.
stuck with me. So I have this knife like between the mattresses
And you have
that
to be prepared.
you
You
gotta
never
be you
know.
gotta be ready. But she also clears off the desk, which I've always wanted to do, especially, like, to get fucked on it. Like, you know, that, like, sweeping off of the desk? But she hauls it up to use as a barricade, which that desk had to be heavy too.
I mean, I guess if your adrenaline's pumping, you're like, we ain't got time for this.
I
She's
still would
just
be like,
shoving.
"Squeak! It's not it's
It's
not
not
gonna
going.
happen."
There is still one small window, but if they choose that route, they'll be slowed down enough for Kale to kill them, or at least give Irene the chance to run.
Say what you will about Kale, but he's the guy I would want as my emergency contact. Like, he is calm and clear-headed, and Kale is just steady. Like, he's just a steady character, which is probably why he was who Selena needed after Endovier. Like, I can see the appeal of
Yeah.
Kale.
Well, because even if I wasn't in full panic, I'd be like, what do we do from here? And he's like, let's do this. We can do this. And we
Mhm.
have this. Like he is coming up with options very quickly. Whoever was chasing Irene didn't go for the garden. Thank goodness. They went straight through the front door. And now they're at the bedroom door, taunting Irene in a soft and hissing voice, neither male nor female.
Irene is understandably terrified, which is something that the Vogue feed off of. So Kale takes her face in his hands, and he puts his back to the door. So he really puts Irene before his own safety, but he tells her that he is not afraid and they will face this together. Do you remember the band Together? I don't remember if it was a fake band or if it was a real band, but it was on MTV and it was called Together, but it was like the letter 2 or the number 2.
Was that one of those where like they make the band?
No, but they had like a TV show, but then they also opened for like Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys, but they had this song that was like you plus sign me equal
Equals.
sign
Yes.
us together.
I forgot.
Was that real? Did I like was that a fever dream?
I mean, I remember it now that you're saying something about it.
That
The
has nothing
word
to do with this. But anyway, they're gonna be together.
together. The word together breaks Irene out of her mental spiral. She hadn't thought to use such a word to feel what it meant. She hadn't felt it
I'm
since.
assuming she means since her mother. Because
Yeah.
we don't really have any like romantic relationships for Irene.
Well, I mean, everybody has been kind of at arm's length for her until she got to the Torre. And even then, they're classmates or she's training with them. This is a much more like, we are in this together. It's much
It's happening
deeper
so
bond.
fast. Like I know that it is happening.
They've been there like, what, a week?
Yeah.
It's been 2 weeks, 1 week? Like, that's
It's
very
a
fast.
month at most. And they're like already at this point.
Like everybody's breaking down their barriers. Kale hands her a dagger and gives her a quick how to kill Vogue tutorial, and she realizes he's done this before. He's killed these things on his own, no magic, just his will and courage.
And it's like seeing and thinking about that, like his courage gives her courage. And as her hands stop shaking and her breathing evens out, the room falls into silence before they recognize the shouts of guards sent there by Kaja after she saw the door,
Thank goodness. But they only leave the bedroom once they hear caution.
whose voice they recognize. And Kale's like, well, he understands the threat. So I guess Caution does know about the Vogue?
I forgot when we talked to him about that. There's been so many characters.
I get confused with what Caution and Sartak know, the
Yeah.
two of them. But anyway, Caution is scanning Irene head to toe, and then he's like, "You good?" to Kale, like, just flicks his eyes in his direction. And Irene explains that she was on the way there to make sure Lord Westfall took a tonic when she noticed that she was being followed. Caution asks why someone might want to do her harm, and there's like a silent convo that he picks up on between her and Kale, and so she says she doesn't know. I guess I was trying to think of like why wouldn't they tell him? I guess maybe Caution would intervene if he thought that helping Kale was putting Irene in danger. Like is I guess that's why they're hiding it.
I feel like they don't have enough information. Like, they still don't understand why the old king of Otterland was killing the healers
Mhm.
or any magic wielders, but they don't know enough, so they probably don't wanna say anything until they know more, but also they're kind of a team,
Mhm.
and the royals, I don't know, we don't know if we have their support yet, so they're tiptoeing around what they tell them. Caution orders his men to guard the suite and search the palace.
And Irene isn't the only reason Caution joins the search. There's still his sister's unsolved murder or like the suicide that he thinks might have been a murder. He offers to escort Irene to the Tory, but Irene feels safer here with Kale.
Poor
He's like,
Caution.
"Great."
He's like, I really out of this? Do I not have a chance? But also, I just don't want her to be here with him." So he's like, let me take you over here." And she's like, "Nope."
Nope.
That's sad. Kale is also surprised. Like, yeah, he used to be that guy, the one that was like protected everybody, but he lost that part of his identity.
He's thinking who would want a guy in a chair to protect them? And Caution's just like, "Oh, got it.
Kale tells Irene that Nezrin's bedroom is empty, but she'd rather stay with
I want to
him.
stay with you in your room, in your bed."
But also, like, how many glass doors are between here and there? So, like, let's pick one room and like barricade ourselves in just to be safe, you
Well, I
know?
don't like the idea of someone being awake while I'm because like, he doesn't go to sleep. Do y'all not fart?
I mean, if I'm sleeping, I don't know. I don't wanna know.
You really I don't think I've ever heard you fart in your sleep.
Thank you.
I
Of all the
know
times
I
we traveled
do.
together,
Yeah. You kinda just, like you're like, "Good night," and you lay down, and then you don't move. I'm not sure that you breathe until you're like, "Good morning."
I am a great sleeper most of the time, to be honest. So, like, I have no idea. But Kale says that he won't be getting much sleep tonight because even with the guards out there, he's gonna wanna keep an eye on everything. So she takes the bed with him.
She climbs into the clean sheets, and after all of that excitement, she chooses a safe and neutral topic. "Hey, what's it like to kill people?"
Great. His face flashes to
Who he
Cain.
killed last year. Kale killed Kane last year. The timeline of this series is insane.
Despite being the captain of the guards and training for it, Cain was the first person that he'd ever killed.
And that was such a pivotal moment for Kale, like, when he chose Selena over his duty. It was really Kale and Dorian owe all of their growth to Aelin. Like,
Mhm.
imagine if she never went to the glass castle.
She really had to shake their lives up for them. Like,
Mhm.
she had to get in their business for them to, like,
She had to stand in their road for them to have, like,
a
a
fork.
fork in the road.
So true. Kale's killed plenty of people since then, but not enough to grow used to it. Killing the Volg is one thing, but the humans they infest aren't always gone. Some are still in there. Figuring out who to kill and who to spare, he doesn't even know when he's made the wrong calls because it's not like the dead can tell him.
Irene took an oath to never kill a human being, but she thinks she would have been able to kill whoever was hunting her, whatever was hunting her. She says that she was that, and Kale expects her he almost wants her to say that she was that frightened because her only defender was in a chair. But it was really she had decided that she was not going to run anymore. Like, even if Kale had bought her time, she wouldn't have run again because that's what she did with her mother, and I don't think that she would be able to do that a second time.
She's grown a lot since then, you know? I mean,
She's not the same girl.
she crossed those mountains to Enish by herself. Like, she really put some work in and, like, learned to defend herself, and she's like, "You know what? I'm not running anymore. I don't wanna be this scared girl." She
I'd
thinks
run. Be like, "Good luck." You'd
you
see
know,
my ass and the bottom of my feet.
I haven't had enough tribulations in my life or trials to, like, be prepared for any of that. I'm not prepared to fight. I would also run. She thanks Kale for being willing to take that death upon himself And no one has ever said that to him, even Dorian. I guess because it was expected.
Mhm.
Captain of
I
the
mean, you
guard.
did take a job as captain of the
Yeah, you're
guards.
gonna be, defending me and taking care of me, so yeah, you should take that death. Aelin had been grateful when he'd killed Cain, but she'd expected him to kill eventually.
He also remember he felt embarrassed to have been, so affected as he was to have to kill one person when Aelin had killed who knows how many people Aelin had killed by then. And he's killed plenty since, but until now, he hadn't looked at doing that with pride and relief, not until Irene. So I guess that he was still, like, holding on to having to do that, and now he's seeing, like, "I had to do this to protect her, like, I did the right thing."
Well, just having somebody understand that, like, even though I've done it before and I had to do it, like, it's not easy and it weighs on me, like, having somebody say, "I'm sorry you've had to do that." I think that perspective, even though she accepts that it needed to be done, just seeing that it's hard for him. He's not happy about having to kill, and, like, maybe Aelin's just gotten so numb to it that, like, she understands, but she doesn't, and Irene's like, "I am sorry that that had to
But he's
happen."
also just assuming that killing doesn't affect Aelin, and he's never actually, like, talked to her about it.
Yeah, Aelin's had to push a lot down, so it may be down in there somewhere she's still really bothered. When Kael tells Irene he promised Nezrin an adventure and admits that she deserved to go on one, Irene asks what he deserves. And when he answers nothing, that he was given everything and airballed it, she disagrees and falls asleep.
The following morning, with Irene still asleep in the heavily guarded suite, Kaol finds that training courtyard Irene mentioned during their fight and approaches one of the older guards.
Oh, Kael. She helped give him some
I know
strength.
every time I get so pissed at him, I'm like, my Shayla.
I mean, they're just things you just didn't know you needed somebody to say that to you. And then now it's like giving you strength and like,
Exactly. Sometimes you don't even know. It's kind of like some of the things that a lead says to Lorcan. Like, you need someone to say something. You're like, yeah,
yeah.
that was fucked up.
Oh. Kael's reminded of Brullo, his former instructor and the weapons master, who ended up hanging from the gates of the glass castle with the rest of his men.
And that would usually that's where he would stop, like, he would go back to his room, but he pushes past those images and replaces them with Irene in his bed, how she looked telling Caution that she felt safest with him. Caution's like, "I'm so glad my worst memory is what you're using." But he replaces the pain he feels looking at the guards training with the image of Shin, no less a man or a guard without his arm.
That guard, Hashim, finds ways for Kael to do their exercises, just as he did for Shen a year ago, and none of the men stare or laugh. Worked to exhaustion, Kael returns to the suite, and he and Irene spend 6 hours lost in the darkness. At the end of it, an awareness has crept past his ankles.
And Kaol is waiting in the training ring before dawn the next morning, and the next, and the next. It's like what you were saying. Sometimes you're so deep in your own head that you have to see yourself through someone else's eyes for it to really hit. Like, Irene's perception of Kaol changed, and seeing her perception of him, like, still being a guy who can protect, like, who can still make people safe, it helped him break through that psychological loop that he was stuck in. Like, he's not worthless. He still has a lot to offer. Like his dick, it still works.
Well, he also was being so hard on himself that he did too little too late.
Mhm.
And whether that's true or not, Irene's like, you still did this, like not letting him forget the effort that he put out
Right.
there, which, it's a nice reminder. And like, I can still do more. And Shen helped him to
Mhm.
see that too. Nezrin and Sartak ride out storms on their way to the Tavin Mountains where the Rukin live. They sit under an overhang, Kadara blocking the
Oh,
freezing
that's so
rain as much as
sweet.
she can, but Nezrin's teeth are chattering and her hands are numb.
She doesn't wish for magical gifts, though. She never has, like, even before magic vanished. But she wouldn't mind a certain firebringer swaggering around the corner. Thinking about Aelin, who is, according to Hasar's spies, MIA, Nezrin is pretty sure if Aelin can't be found, it's because she doesn't want to be found and she has a plan. Like, it's part of the reason that Nezrin likes Aelin. She lets everyone believe that she's this reckless wild card, but she plays the long game. Like, there are probably a few cards up her sleeve even Aelin's court doesn't know about. That's why this works so well as a tandem read, because this is happening right at the right time with
Right as
Empire
things
of
are about to
Storms.
happen.
Kale and Nezrin have such a different reaction to hearing Aelin is MIA. Like, Kale is irritated almost. He's like, "What is this bitch doing now? Like, how is she gonna fuck up this for everyone else?" But Nezrin is trusting that she has a plan. Like,
Kale
their approaches to it are like yeah, their reactions are just very different.
Kale is very structured. Like, he cannot handle going with the flow. He cannot handle things outside the
He
box.
also jumps to the worst possible conclusion when it comes to Aelin.
Yeah, part of it is definitely an Aelin trigger, but he also just, like, panics. Like, he's, what are we gonna do now?" And Nezrin's like, "She'll figure out something. I trust her."
Unless it were Dorian and he'd be like, I'm sure Dorian had a good reason.
Yeah, with all the things Dorian's done for us, I'm sure there was a plan there. I do think it's really interesting that she keeps talking about how cold she is, and I'm like, "Y'all don't have to get naked, but, like, why don't you sleep next to each other for body heat?"
Get naked.
Like, I mean, you should get naked, but, like, even if you don't, you're literally freezing.
If you're like laying in wet clothes,
But, like, I think I don't understand.
poor Kadara.
Like, there's a line, like, I know we're being all like, "You're the prince, I'm over here, like,
I
I
just
can't be
know
close to
Sartak
you."
is one of those bodies that radiates heat.
She literally
With
sits in
those
his
thick
lap.
thighs
Well, like, while they're flying Kadara, she's sitting in his lap, so I'm like, "You can't lay down next to each other, even with your clothes on?"
in a wet saddle. Oh my god. Can you imagine being in wet panties for that long? Ugh.
With leather over them, that's some chafing that nobody asked
I don't
for.
know who's worse. No, I think the elite situation is worse, actually. It's
Yeah,
been like 2 weeks.
that's ugh. Thanks to the storm, Nezrin and Sartak have to camp for another night, and I'm
And
like, "Body heat."
well, this is when Nezrin is like, did I make a mistake flying off with a stranger?
"Oh, I put my life in his
I
hands
don't
and I'm
actually know
isolated."
Sartak. He's just like really, really good looking and famous.
Also, he could literally drop you off of Kadara and you're fucked, you
Oh,
know,
he
like,
absolutely could just be like, boop.
there's a lot of scary things we just jumped on for and hope for the best. On the last leg of their journey, Sartak points out the direction you'd fly to reach the steps where the Dargan live.
Dargan, Argan.
Yeah, they rhyme.
That's great. God, that was very condescending. I really thought that I did something.
I s Maybe you did, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. The Rookin and the Dargan were once one group until they tamed the Rooks and split into the Horse Lords and the Rook Riders, which is why they have so many of the same traditions.
And why they often work together in times of war. Nothing like the scale of war in Otterland, but Sartak has been sent to restless territories to remind them, like, who's in charge.
Ugh, that's tough. There are also clans within the Rookin, ancient rivalries Sartak has to navigate, not unlike what he suspects Nezrin did as a city guard.
Otterland doesn't exactly embrace women, like, at all, but shattering the glass castle ceiling. So while Nezrin was just she was just as skilled or even more skilled, men were the ones being promoted, like in the city guard or really in everywhere in Otterland. But they're the ones that were handling the important jobs. They were the ones given publishing deals with no manuscript. But she stayed and she kept her mouth shut because if she were to challenge them and lose her job, who would help the people that needed it most? Because Nezrin really has her entire life put other people ahead of herself.
Hear, hear. Not only was Nezrin passed over because she was a woman, but she didn't look like everybody else. She never really understood why her father insisted on staying when her mother tried to convince him to return to Antica. But, like, people literally hate them around them. And, like, her sister's like, "I love being here." Why?
Yeah,
Like,
you're
let's
watching them throw rocks at me. You
like
love it here?
Nezrin is doing her best to look out for other people, but, like, it has been a rough road. It's hard to understand. Delara loves Rifthold. She
Mhm.
even married a man that was born and raised in the city.
While kids were throwing rocks at her sister. But she does Nezrin shuts down Sartak's line of questioning, saying, "It's not worth talking about, Your Highness."
Mhm.
And Sartak begs her not to call him Prince or Your Highness among the Rukin. It took him years to get them to stop asking if he needed his silk slippers or his hairbrush. To them, he's just Sartak or Captain. What book did we just talk about where it was Captain? Warrior Chronicles?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why they chose to call him captain instead of king or, like, governor or anything else. Interesting.
Governor.
Is that what I said?
No.
Okay. When all 6 root clans gather, he's prince, but among his family's clan, the Eridan, he's captain and answers to the Hearth Mother.
And he suggests that she do the same or she will find herself tied to a cliff face in the middle of a storm.
That's very specific.
It's very specific. The whole Rukin society is interesting to me. Like the setup, too. Like, we aren't talking about a bunch of tents they moved from the steppes to a mountain. Like houses, halls, chambers, they're built into the stone. Like, Nezrin can see hundreds, but there's more that she can't see.
And this is only one clan.
The oldest clan, according to them, but
Mhm.
I would not give a shit about whose clan is the oldest. Sartak's body is leaning forward for the landing, like his thighs are bracketing mine.
So are his arms?
His arms,
What are
but his
we?
thighs? Sartak, I think, is very underrated in the Massverse. Like, there are almost too many good characters in this series. Like, Sartak and Fenris deserved more screen time, more spicy screen time. We were
Absolutely.
robbed.
They're, like, different males, but, like, they could get it. I would watch both scenes. As they approach the mountain hall of Altoon, which roughly translates to Windhaven,
Windseeker going to Windhaven does seem poetic,
this
right?
this definitely feels like destiny
It does.
for Nezrin to be with Sartak
Well, and that
and in
Nezrin
the
has
air.
a destiny. Like, she went from such a supporting character to, like, she's really important in this story. Like, she has her own story.
I mean, for her mother, who is from Rifthold, to give her a name that sounds like it belongs to the southern continent, calling her
Yeah.
Windseeker, especially when she's in a big city as opposed to out on the out in the, wild somewhere,
Mhm.
it all feels very specific, very poetic. People are gathered with their arms raised in greeting,
That's a little silly if you picture it.
they're really excited to see you. But also, you guys got the word around that we were arriving pretty quickly,
Mhm.
including Borte, Sartak's hearth sister, and granddaughter, heir of his hearth mother, Hulan.
Which I had totally been saying Bort in my head. Borte asked if Nezrin is there as an emissary or a bride. I'd be like, "Wait a minute. Is that an option?"
Am I blushing? You're blushing. But
And, like, already you know that this family dynamic is way different than Sartak's family back in Antica. Like, he's laughing, he's relaxed, they're teasing each other. You don't have to constantly be looking around for the ears and eyes that are all over the palace. She's a sibling and she's an heir, but she's not gonna kill Sartak because of it.
right. And I mean, even just when he's back at the palace, I guess Hussar is really the only one making jokes, and they're always laced barbs.
Mhm.
They're poison laced barbs. It's never just easygoing
You
banter.
can't, yeah, you can't relax in that palace.
Nesrin is bracing herself for judgment, bracing herself to be an outsider like she's always been. But she's not just welcomed here. Borte says, welcome home.
That's so sweet. Nezrin never felt at home in Otterland, like, she was always torn between the 2 halves of herself, and really Sartak too, like, he's torn between his family in Antica and the Rukin. And then just, like, a small thing when Borte offers to braid her hair properly before she flies next, like, it's very like, she finally has a community. She
Yeah.
had her father and her sister, like, after her mother died, but she hasn't felt connected, like, there's just a like, she hasn't had that support that you get and the acceptance you feel just, like, being around your people.
It's very sisterly. I
Mhm.
see you. I support you. Let me help
Well,
you.
and for like, I she loves her sister, but her sister was very, like, yay Otterlin
They're
and
very different.
very different, yeah.
Her sister was very, outgoing, life of the party. Nesrin was more quiet and reserved, and they just had different, I don't know about
Vibes.
priorities, but yeah, it was just different. Surprisingly, Nesrin isn't the only person from Otterland there. A merchant in his late 40s with midnight sapphire eyes named Falcon Inar has been a guest of the Hearth Mother for a few weeks.
Nezrin asks if he's heard any news of Rifthold, but Falcon has been in the southern continent for over 2 years now. He's surprised to hear that she's royal guard because last he knew, he's like, wasn't there a mall cop with a bowl cut who was captain of the guards? But he's even more surprised to learn that Dorian Haviliard is king. But he's not as surprised as because she doesn't know. She's like, could this guy be Vogue? Like, whose side is he on? And she
Yeah.
kinda gauges his reaction, but he's not surprised of like, "Oh, no, the king is dead." He's just like, "Oh,
There's clearly no loyalty to the king,
yeah."
so he's not upset that he's gone. As Borte leads Nesrin into the mountain, she says her grandmother refuses to reveal why Falcon is here.
What's especially weird for a merchant to be there when they don't have anything to sell?
Yeah, usually if
What are
they're
you
the
doing
ones
here?
selling other
Ariana,
people's
what are you
goods.
doing here?
What are you doing out here? Nesrin bathes, dresses in clothes and fleece-lined boots donated by Borte, and joins Sartak in the Great Hall for dinner. He breaks the news that his hearth mother isn't there, but should be returning tomorrow or the day after.
Nezrin is pressed for time, but Kale's recovery isn't exactly on a timeline, and, like, we know that Nezrin knows about Kale's toes, but Kale doesn't know that Nezrin knows, you know, because it was like she saw it that night after he had gone to sleep. So it's like she knows that he's recovering a little bit, but as far as he knows, she doesn't know.
It's also just his toes. It's going to take some
It's also
time.
just his toes.
We got a lot of leg to go.
But she's also already here. Like, We already flew all the way here. It took days. I might as well stay and talk to her. Sartak offers to give Nezrin a tour tomorrow, and maybe she can show off some of those famous archery skills.
Ooh.
I just love, like, I know I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but Nezrin has been on the side even in her own mind, but she's a legend here. Like,
She's
she has her
allowed
own lore.
Yeah, she's allowed to have more for herself here. Speaking of, how did so many people know the legendary Neith's arrow was coming to the Eyrie?
Sartak sent word a day before they left that she was likely to join him because, as he told her when she agreed, he'd been praying that she'd join him.
I mean, I just love that little, like, cocky moment with him there. I'm like, "Are we flirting?
He's so
What's happening?"
charming.
He is, but also yeah, I would be a total, like, simp for
Oh my
Sartak.
god, I'd
It's
be
just the
on my
right amount of,
knees.
like, paying attention and flirting that I'm like, "What?" Early the next morning, Nezra notices someone else is awake, and 30 minutes later, she and Sartak are in the air so Kadara and the other Rooks can hit the continental breakfast. Sartak points out the training run where young riders practice on the seasoned, more docile Rooks.
Which makes more sense than the death drop that the witches use in the Fairy Gap with,
Yeah.
like, whatever's going on at Basgiath.
Yeah.
It is crazy that they let the kids take their first rides at, like, 4 years old, but at least family members are with them. So it's not as bad.
Yeah. I mean, I know that small children get on, like, horses and stuff, but, like, they're in the air. I'm like, I don't know. That's crazy dangerous, but very impressive. It is also the same for the horse clans. Most can stand on top of a horse by the age of 6. That's wild.
I don't even could I talk at the age of 6?
Uh, but they also start learning how to wield bows and spears as soon as their feet can reach the stirrups.
Legend says some of the guys I've dated are still waiting to reach those stirrups.
A lot of this chapter is Southern Continent lore, like how the Kagan used this training and engineers to conquer kingdoms by taking routes that other armies wouldn't risk, like crossing the Kazultum Desert.
And if you change just a couple letters in that desert, you have an actual desert.
I see you not saying the name.
I don't know how to say it. I don't wanna mess it up. But it was a desert that was considered impassable for large armies until Genghis Khan led the Mongols across it, and he took a city by surprise. And they also crossed a frozen river and mountains, and, like, it was their invasion into Eastern Europe, and the Hungarians and the Poles were totally unprepared because at that point, winter campaigning was unheard of. Like, they just kinda called off war in the
Mm.
winter. But like the first Khagan, the Mongol Empire used cities that wouldn't surrender as examples. But if the gates were opened and the tribute was paid, the population was usually spared. And Mongol rulers also carried a horsehair solda whose color signaled peace or war, like Sartak says that the first Khagan did. So again, like a lot of inspiration from Genghis Khan and the Mongols.
A lot, sounds
I
like.
just probably said a lot of things wrong, but the intention was there.
Yeah,
My
no,
heart was in the right
we
place.
knew what you meant. When kingdoms knew the Kagan was riding with the Ebony Solde, word would spread, and most kingdoms didn't even try to raise an army.
Very different approach than the King of Adarlan and Erewhon, who's been experimenting and raising his army since before Aelin and Dorian even became a threat.
Which makes Sartak wonder why. If you've already conquered most of the northern continent, you think Aelin is dead, you don't think Dorian will be a problem. What's the motive and why now?
Sartak doesn't know about the word keys, which is what Erewhon's looking for. But also, Erewhon was imprisoned until those idiots Parrington and the actual king, the real king, released him. So the reason is number one, the keys, but he also had to build this army. Like, it's just fate, I guess, or like someone pulling the threads of fate that it all happened as Aelin and Dorian were coming into their power. But it's the motivation, or how I interpret it is first opening the gate for his brothers. But also, if you're immortal, a couple decades of waiting and planning is nothing, you know?
But even then, it's wild because you're like, what are they going to do? Take over the world and destroy it and then just move on to another one? Like, what's the plan here? They return to the Eyrie.
And it's rope ladders and rope bridges. Like, no fucking thank you.
I would have a death grip. I'm like, I don't think I can take a step forward when it starts swinging.
I wouldn't even be able to take the stairs if I'm that high up.
I also don't have any upper arm strength, so a rope ladder is not going to work out for me.
Yeah,
Who's
that
pulling
just
me
sounds
up?
like American Ninja Warrior.
Oh my gosh, like my hands are getting beat. Like, just it's not going to work. Sartak shows Nezrin around Rokal the Whisperer and points out its two brother peaks, the Eric, aka the Lilter, and Torque, the Roarer, all named for the way the wind sounds as it passes over and around them. He also takes her to the various kitchens, halls, armories, tanneries, and lastly, the training ring located at the flat topped summit.
She asks about a mountain on the other side of the lake, and Sartak calls the fourth peak the Silent One, where they bury their dead. Nezrin blurts out, "So, are you going to be buried there, or are you going to be buried with your family in the steppes?" But Sartak doesn't know because, like Nezrin, he's torn between two parts of himself.
That was kind of a big question to ask him too. I'm
I
like,
know, the prince.
like, I understand, like, not maybe she just like, "Hey, what about you?" But
She just like blurted it out.
yeah,
I
she
do the
clearly
same
didn't
thing.
think that one through. In the training
Where
ring.
they have ash bows, like, isn't it Akatar when it's ash arrows that kill Fae,
Ooh. Ooh,
right?
what does that
I
mean?
don't know.
Or
Probably nothing.
or something. Forte challenges Nezrin to hit the neck, heart, and head on 3 dummies. Instead of 3 arrows distributed among the 3 dummies, Nezrin shoots 9 arrows, hitting the heart, neck, and head on each.
For hours, Nezrin shows the Rukin how she did it, and in turn, they teach her about their own techniques, like how they twist in their saddles to fire backwards. And by the end of it, Nezrin has a genuine smile on her face.
Oh.
Sartak is happy that she lived up to her legendary status, but he was worried when he realized the reports about her left out some key information, like how beautiful she was. He is
Listen,
so charming.
I would also be like Nezrin, like, thank you. Not ready for this." They're interrupted by a messenger sent to tell them that the Hearth Mother has returned. As they walk, Nezrin asks questions about Hearth Mothers who learn to fight, to speak different languages, and other things that even Sartak isn't told.
So Nezrin is expecting an old crone, but the Hearth Mother is a straight backed woman with silver streaked black hair, and at her side is Falcon.
Hulin reveals there's an ancient malice stirring in the mountains. Rook nests have been pillaged and eggs stolen in the night, but not by poachers, by something worse, something her own edge called the Karen Kui, which means shadow and darkness.
But in your lands, she looks to Nezrin and Falcon. They call them the Stygian spiders.
Mic drop. Wow.
You're like, what?
That's where we'll pick up next week with Empire of Storms, chapter 31 through 33, and Tower of Dawn, chapters 31 through 35.
Help us find new book besties and convince our friends that we are not failures with ratings and reviews.
Thanks, guys.